Grab the heaviest rock you can lift and drop it on the coconut. Repeat this until cracks start to form along the fibers. Then flip it upside down and do the same to the bottom, before peeling it apart with your hands. Next, find the 3 dots on the coconut that look like a face. Follow the eyes to find the ridge along the coconut shell and hold it so it points outwards. Finally, slam the middle of the ridge onto a sharp rock, turning it for each hit until you split the coconut in half for a tasty drink. He rang the doorbell and another old man answered. It was his former high school classmate. He asked if it was really him, and when the man said yes, he pulled out a gun and shot him twice in the face. You see, back in the 50s, the two had been at school together. The victim was a star athlete, and he was the team's student manager. One afternoon, in the locker room, someone had allegedly pulled a jockstrap over his head as a joke. The rest of the school moved on, but he never did. For more than half a century, that humiliation sat in his mind until he finally decided to do something about it. The process starts by enclosing a person within a wall, leaving no exits. Unlike being buried alive, you wouldn't die from lack of air. In some cases, the person was given just enough food and water to survive for years, prolonging the agony and isolation. Victims were sometimes forced to stand upright, unable to sit or rest, their legs swelling from the lack of movement. Many died slowly, completely isolated, left to suffer until the end. When you put them on, tiny microphones inside pick up the noise around you, and they read the highs and lows of the sound wave. It uses it to create a wave that's practically the opposite. And when this is played through the headphones, the two sound waves cancel each other out, which cuts out a lot of the outside noise. But if your mom suddenly screams at you, the headphones have to hear the sound, read the wave, and make the opposite one. So if the noise changes too fast, by the time they react, it's already too late. You walk up to order a coffee and point at the medium for $4.50. But right before you pay, the cashier points to the large and says it's only 50 cents more. So now the medium suddenly feels stupid. You didn't even want a large, but your brain starts doing the math. Because for just 50 cents more, the large feels way too good to pass up. And that's exactly why companies do this. You see, when there are only 2 options, most people compare them directly. But when they add a middle option that's priced almost the same as the biggest one, well, it makes the expensive option feel like the obvious choice. So instead of buying what you actually wanted, you spend more money, get more coffee, and walk away thinking you made the When you shave with a normal razor, the multiple blades pass over your skin, cutting the hair just above the skin's surface. And while they're convenient and easy to use, these razors can cause ingrown hairs and irritation if the blades aren't sharp enough. But if you know how to use a straight edge razor, the single sharp blade cuts each hair at its base. This gives a much closer shave in one pass and significantly reduces skin irritation. If the fabric gets pinched between its jaws, it can also block the teeth from meshing. So you might just yank on it, but this can make the snag worse and bend the teeth. Instead, pull the fabric out slowly with your fingers, then gently slide the zipper. If it still sticks, rub a pencil over the teeth. Then straighten out any bent prongs, and the zipper will glide again. If you put on a backpack with nothing inside, your shoulders will still tense, your back will brace, and your muscles will get ready to lift. But then, there's nothing inside, so your body is ready for a load that never shows up, which can make the empty backpack feel lighter than not wearing it. You see, when you expect something to be hard, you should prepare for it. And if it turns out to be easier than expected, well, you don't just feel relieved, you feel stronger. If you put on a backpack with nothing inside, your shoulders will still tense, your back will brace, and your muscles will get ready to lift. But then, there's nothing inside, so your body is ready for a load that never shows up, which can make the empty backpack feel lighter than not wearing it. You see, when you expect something to be hard, you should prepare for it. And if it turns out to be easier than expected, well, you don't just feel relieved, you feel stronger. One evening, she noticed the attic hatch hanging open in her apartment. She closed it and didn't think much of it until later that night, when she heard footsteps above her. She told her friends, but they said it was just in her head. So she saw a doctor and told him what was going on. He put her on drugs, which left her drowsy and numb, but the footsteps never stopped. Then, one evening, the hatch opened above her. A man was staring right at her. She ran downstairs screaming for help and called the police. They found him living among piles of bags, and her neighbor had known all along and was. The prisoners have been sitting in front of a blank wall their entire lives. They don't turn around, they just stare at the blank wall. Now, place a fire behind them. Then build a walkway between the fire and the prisoners, and raise a short wall. Now, move objects across the walkway. The fire will cast their shadows onto the wall. If you collected all of the world's trash, could you launch it into space to get rid of it? Well, we produce over 6 million tons of trash every day, which is enough to fill almost 5 stadiums. So, to launch it all, you would need over 90,000 rockets every day, each fully loaded with waste. Every launch would cost millions and burn hundreds of tons of fuel, pumping out over 100 tons of CO2 per flight. And even then, most rockets only reach low Earth orbit, meaning a lot of it would come crashing back down and pollute the atmosphere as it burned up. Now, even if we did launch it further out, the massive amount of trash would eventually form a giant belt around Earth. These would orbit our planet for thousands of years, blocking out the sun and polluting the sky. His helmet had a radio inside. This allowed his dad to speak to him from a walkie-talkie because he couldn't see the field. You see, when he was younger, tumors formed in both his eyes, and by age 7, he was completely blind. But he still wanted to play football, so he learned every route. And before each play, his dad would describe the defense from the sidelines, helping him picture where everyone was while he ran the play from memory. And it worked so well that he became a quarterback. Poke the hot nail through the bottle cap, creating multiple holes. Then wedge in a small piece of sponge. Now stretch the mouth of a balloon over the cap and cut off the narrow neck. Then stretch the other end over your faucet and wrap a zip tie around it so it stays in place. Now, when you turn the water on, it rushes through and out the holes, giving you a movable sprayer. But over time, bacteria can grow inside that sponge, which could turn your faucet into a germ fountain. As she walked down the hallway, she saw a man dying in his bed. So she sat down and held the patient's hand until he passed away. You see, after several patients died with no one around them, a program was started which trained volunteers and paired each one to a patient about to die alone. The volunteer would sit beside your bed, hold your hand, and quietly sing to you, or just sit in complete silence. After a few hours, another person might take their place, and this would repeat all the way until the very end, just to make sure you don't die alone.